What's going on, everybody? Sean Daniel with Guitar Control here. Today we're going to talk about taking some previously known pretty scary chords, simplifying them to make them easy to play, stuff you're going to run across in a lot of different songs, stuff like that. I'm just going to focus in on one chord specifically, the dreaded F sharp minor chord. But if you want to get a little more context in it and see how it's used in a musical term, a musical sense, how we can move this around to make all sorts of different chords, click the link below because this is kind of part of a bigger class that I've done about just using 10 different chords to learn pretty much any single song you're ever going to want to learn. This is one of those difficult chords that a lot of people see, they think they can't do, and then they just try to avoid it as much as possible. So click the link below because it'll get you on the pre-list so you'll be notified when the course goes live. Or if you're watching this video after the fact, it'll just take you to some more information on it if it's something you're interested in. But let's talk about F sharp minor, okay? It's kind of one of those things where a beginner might see it and they'll be like, well, what the heck? I'm already having a hard enough time with these bar chords. Now I gotta do this thing where I have to bar the entire 2nd fret, somehow get my ring finger to the 4th fret on the A string, my pinky to the 4th fret on the D string, and somehow, God willing, get tone out of all 6 strings, okay? So we're gonna talk about 2 different things to kind of help you with an F sharp minor chord, which you're going to run into because it is a very valuable chord and what happens to be the 3rd most common key that you will run into. Talk about an easy way to do it, and then talk about some tips to maybe get the full legit way to impress your friends. All right? So, F sharp is the root note of an F sharp minor chord. The 2nd fret on the low E string. If you're really just looking for a quick tip, you see an F sharp minor chord, just play the 2nd fret on the E string and then just hope for the best, right? The next thing you can do is make it a power chord. A power chord is take a root note and then its 5th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A 5th from a note is 5 notes away in the major scale. Again, I don't want to get too far into the weeds, music theory on it. That's what that course is for, is really breaking it down in an informative, efficient, fun-loving way. But getting a power chord, 2E, 4A is a totally acceptable way to play an F sharp minor or an F sharp major, by the way. You can even get your pinky in the game on 4D, right there, like that, okay? Now, the reason that it's common, and it's one of the more troubling chords for maybe beginner, intermediate players, is because it's one of those things that we don't see in the 2 most common keys of music, okay? Most common key that you see in any type of music is the key of C, all right? Running through it real quick, just the chords in the key of C, we have C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, and A minor. So far, none of those are really bar chords. Some people will try to convince you that F can only be played as a bar chord. Not true. It's a much easier way to play it, all right? Those are the chords in the easiest key, or the most common key, not necessarily the easiest key. The chords in the 2nd most common key, what I call the people's key, the key of G, are G major, A minor, B minor, C minor, D minor, and E minor, all right? People's key, right? The next most common key that you will see is the key of D, all right? So this is where we have a lot of the same chords, D major, E minor, F sharp minor, G major, A major, B minor, then back to D. Okay, so a lot of times where you see an A major chord, I remember vividly, I'll be like, all right, D, got it, I can do a D major chord. Then I'll be looking at a chord chart, A major, I'm like, oh, that's bad news. That means that F sharp minor's coming. Hurting, putting the hurt on your bar chord hand. Again, I wish somebody would have told me this. Much easier way to do this, all right? Let's rewind and go to the first chord you probably ever learned, the easiest chord that it is to fret correctly and get tone out of, the E minor chord. Right here. Open E, 2A, 2D, open all the way down, right? So that's the E minor chord. Again, super easy because you just really have to fret these 2 notes. Now you can move this to the 4th fret, E minor, F minor, F sharp minor. This is kind of like we talked about that power chord earlier, where you can get a little piece of that E minor chord and still retain a lot of what's going on. Again, this is a pretty common chord in the key of D that you'll see. It's actually called the 3 chord, D, E, F sharp. We get more into like the theory behind it in a more musical sense because, again, we're going to go over a lot of songs that you'll find this chord and a lot of different alternative ways to play this in the course. I really just wanted to make this as just like a a do not fear the F sharp video. But we're gonna do this where, since we move this E minor 2 frets higher, we need to use the D string, or the G string, because in E minor, G is open, right? Sometimes you take for granted that the open strings are really notes that you're playing just because you're not fretting them. So if we move this E minor shape 2 frets higher, we need to move the G string open note 2 frets higher. So we need it to be 2G, all right, right here. Now we can add that to that E minor shape and get this right here, 4A, 4D, and 2G. So this is a perfectly acceptable F sharp minor chord. And again, just like F sharp minor is like a mouthful of a name for a chord, right? You have a letter, you have the pound sign on a phone, and then minor. So maybe you're just kind of starting to grasp, as I did when I was a beginner, what each of those things mean. Again, we're going to break it down in the course, but this is the easy cheater way, which isn't really cheating. It's still a full F sharp minor, but it's a lot easier to play. Still might be kind of a reach, you know, kind of getting your pointer finger on 2 and then your ring and pinky on 4, but way, way easier. Again, total pro move. E minor to F sharp minor to G. E minor, F sharp minor, bar chord, G. So the difference between a bar chord F sharp minor and this kind of easy way is like that. There is a difference. To me, it's kind of negligible, but just in case you want to play the full one, the best advice I can get you, other than stretching your hand out, doing like different exercises and just drilling it, is when we have a minor bar chord rooted on the low E string, I want you to take your middle finger, which is kind of free, and then lay it on top of your pointer finger to get that much more pressure down on that bar. Because almost like what everybody does, that G string is the hardest one to sound out if you're trying to make an E string rooted minor bar chord. If you've ever tried to make an F sharp minor chord before, that G string is what always hurts. You really got to put some pressure on that one, right? So it'd be nice if that G string wasn't important, but actually the G string being the 2nd fret is what's totally responsible for that F sharp being minor or major. Again, the music theory we'll get more into in the course, but that's why for beginners or intermediate players, I like using this, because you always know that you're going to get solid tone out of that right here. Because again, here's F sharp minor, here's F sharp major. And when you do the simplified voicing, it's a lot easier to kind of comprehend the difference between. Because a lot of times you get that fuzziness until you really get the power into it, right? So it's something I don't want you to be afraid of anymore. Just take this one voicing, and then you can move it through the musical alphabet: F sharp minor, G minor, G sharp minor, A sharp minor, B minor, C minor. Like we talked about, we learn this one chord voicing, we make it movable, so you learn one shape, but it's 12 different chords. And again, that's something I go into greater detail in the course that I've been talking about, that you can click the link below to get more information on. And we talk about not just like what it's made out of, but like I use all real life song examples and applications of that chord that you might find. Because again, it's really just learning 10 different chords, this just being kind of like one of them that we talk about, that you can kind of put together to play really any song that you'll really ever come across. So hopefully, if this is helpful to you, I really urge you to click that link below and kind of find out more information about the course. Maybe it's something you're interested in. If not, definitely just hit us up in the comments and let us know what other stuff you'd like to see from myself or the channel. And thank you for watching, and hopefully we'll talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.